What's your name?
My name is Jay Price.
And how long have you been attending St. Peter's?
I started attending in 1959.
Kiana Johnson.
Peg Topsic-Richard. Nancy Meyer.
Nathaniel Deward.
Tom Wallstrom. Richard Rare.
My name is Nancy Fifield.
My name is Carol Trapp.
I'm Rachel Clark.
I'm Eric Anderson.
My name is Don Hovey.
I'm Greg Bradley.
Jan Arnett.
Jeff De La Rosa.
I'm Levi Harris.
And I'm Jacob Trimble.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fisher. My grandmother went to an AME church on the south side and of course took me with her. And I remember the singing and talking about God and Jesus. And I leaned over to my grandmother and whispered, "So which one is Jesus?" And she smiled and said, "Well, none of them. Jesus is all around us."
Sitting on the front row of Oak Haven Methodist Church in Memphis, Tennessee, and being stared at by the pastor, who was Gene Barnes at that time, and my mother, who was the organist, sitting over there in the corner, and I can't remember the woman's name sitting behind me, that would always thump my ear if I misbehaved.
AME Church. Coppin Chapel is on 56th in Michigan. And I started going there when I was like, Sunday school age, maybe four years old. And I remember this song that they used to always teach us about Jesus. Yes, Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me. Yes, I know, so the Bible tells me so. And that's one of the first songs I remember.
And I remember that Mrs. Yates was teaching Sunday school to us, and she gave us these little books. They were about this big, of the Lord's Prayer. It was an accordion style book, so you flip one page. They were just tiny. And I remember her giving us this book of the Lord's Prayer. I got to take it home. And getting to take home the Lord's Prayer was just so exciting to me.
We went to a Augustana Lutheran church, and it was the first time that I heard that God loved me.
Sitting in the very back pew of Agape Baptist Church between my grandma and grandpa, who sat here, and my Aunt Ada and Uncle Sam, who sat over here. Grandma would always give us money to put in the offering plate as it came by.
It was Easter Sunday. My mom took me and my older sister and my younger sister to a sunrise service. It was an outdoor service where we sat on lawn chairs. We were sitting there with blankets over our laps, and as the field was starting to fill up, we all looked at each other and we thought, I'm a little cold. We got a little bored. So my mom decided that we'd go home before the church service even started, and we'd just eat out of our Easter baskets.
Community.
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 Community. Community.
A community.
It's a sense of belonging. It's a sense of community.
St. Peter's is a wonderful community of people.
Community.
The community.
The people here at St. Peter's are very nice individuals, and so socially it gives me a chance to be with them.
For me, the big things that happen here happen in this room.
The liturgy.
The liturgy.
I love the music and liturgy of St. Peter's. The liturgy. I love the liturgy at St. Peter's. I love being able to participate in the liturgy, and I love just worshiping through the liturgy.
I'm very comfortable in the way that we worship here at St. Peter's.
St. Peter's is where I could become what I really feel God has called me to be.
St. Peter's is a great place. It's, first of all, it's a place to worship, but it's also a very family-oriented place. By that I mean a church family. There's a lot of community here. It's easy to get to know people, and it's just a wonderful place in the middle of the neighborhood.
We are created for community. The Episcopal Church, especially for me, has always served as a
as a safe community where you can be yourself and then go out and serve the world. I love the music and liturgy of St. Peter's.
To me, St. Peter's is a sense of community. It gives and gave me comfort when I needed it, a place to come for solace. It also gives me a place to celebrate joyous times.
To the south side of the city, and decided that we wanted to keep coming to St. Peter's, partly because of the community. We had felt like we had developed a lot of good friends here, and there's a, for me at least, I felt like there was something, there's something very vibrant about the parish. You know, there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of older people, and there's a good mix of people. People are friendly, they're welcoming, and you know, we were going through a lot of transition when we moved. You know, quitting a job, starting school, buying a new home, moving out of a neighborhood that we were familiar with. I wanted something constant in our life, and this was the most, you know, the most constant thing, and we weren't ready to sort of give it up, I guess.
St. Peter's is, I think of it, it's a community. It's a bunch of people that are together trying to find God and figure out what place their faith plays in their life, and we're doing it together.
I've really enjoyed the community and the people here. I also really enjoyed the Lakeview neighborhood, and I feel that this church really embodies the spirit of this community.
I love St. Peter's. Everything stands for the ministry, the liturgy. Of course, the music is, you know, I enjoy, you know, being in the music program. But the way the church connects with what's going on with me or with all of us in our daily lives, and this is spirituality that I feel when I come in here, and the love I feel when I come in here, that it's just a good place to belong to.
You sort of get drawn in, at least for me, I got drawn into the web of activities and the social life, and when I had my children, it definitely became the village in which I raised my children, and I consider people here an extended family.
I'm welcomed every day. Whether I've had a good day, a bad day, I'm nervous or not, whether I want to be actively engaged or I just want to sit quietly, I know that I can be here and do that. I can come in, sit quietly in the back and pray, and no one thinks that's weird. I can come in and be very open and expressing my love of the community, and that's okay. Everyone, really and truly, no matter who, what, where you are, is welcome here.
It's a place that we feel very comfortable. We can be ourselves here, and it's a very diverse group. Also, we built a lot of friendships here. You know, it's just become a labor of love, so, you know, we're so connected with it. I can't even imagine of not being here.
I have never been an active part of a church before I came to St. Peter's. And the way that the community welcomed us and welcomed my talents and my abilities was something that I had never experienced before. And at this point, I just would be extremely sad to ever leave St. Peter's.
I think my favorite ministry of anything to do is the feeding ministries, because then I really feel that I'm giving back. I'm very blessed in my life and I have, you know, more than I need. And it feels really, really good to be able to help people, you know, and to go around with people and do it. So that's probably my favorite. The best part of being here is you can do as little or as much as you want. There's an ocean of needs in any community, in anything, anywhere. But anybody who wants to do anything, any aspect of it can be appreciated and done at any level. And I think that is, you know, the best part of doing it. And anything that you do, you will receive a blessing so much more, and you will end up getting so much more out of it than anything that you've ever given back to it.
I really enjoy the Wednesday morning Bible studies. I'm learning a great deal that I had never known before. The primary ministry that I enjoy is being in the choir. I have degrees in music, and I obviously like to use the talent that I presumably have for the glory of God.
The first time I did outreach through St. Peter's was with the night ministry and the night ministry van, and we went out and served food to homeless youth on the streets, gave them sandwiches and stuff like that. And I was really scared and intimidated, I think, and I thought that it was going to be a very depressing experience dealing with people who are homeless and hungry. And what amazed me was their humanity and how happy they were and how sort of uplifted and how grateful they were for the help we gave them. But I was also just amazed by how little I notice homeless people on the street every day. And ever since I've become more involved in outreach, I find that I see people more often than I was used to looking through.
Tell me about your experience in the choir.
Oh, it's just been bliss every day, sunshine and lollipops. No, it's good. It's work. I never thought I'd 8 years now. I mean, this is my 8th season or going. I don't even know. I can't. But so it's been that kind of. I hate to use the word journey. I mean, because everyone on a reality show says it's my journey. It's not my journey, but it's kind of like that. It's like there are forks in the road, and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? But there's always, a payoff. I mean, it always feels better. But I think it also taught me commitment. I mean, I'm not a very committed person, so I mean, this is the longest committed relationship I've had for my adulthood. So, I mean, that's the, it's not easy, but it's worth it. So
when we serve water at the Gay Pride Parade, I really like that, going out and just, we don't ask for anything. We basically just have a bathroom for people and we hand out water. And it's often a hot day. And I really like the message and the meaning behind giving out water to strangers who are passing by.
I really love ushering and meeting people and greeting people. That just seems to come naturally for me. I also am very enriched by reading the scripture, being a lector. I try to take that very seriously. The word usually speaks to me in some way. And the first time I ever read in church years ago, I was very nervous when I did it, just absolutely terrified. But throughout the years, I've come to really feel that maybe that's something I can do meaningfully within the church.
Being a subdeacon, I love being a subdeacon. I love being up here, and I love being a part of the service. Doing the flowers, I love doing the flowers. Spending the time in the church alone, in the quiet, just placing the flowers in the vases. There's a lot of prayer time and a lot of time for me to just sit and talk with God. That just is very important to me. And being a part of the vestry has, really been life-changing for me. Being a part of the leadership of an organization such as St. Peter's has really been powerful for me.
My first service after I had been ordained, when the congregation welcomed me, greeted me as a deacon. It'll be 4 years in January.
Sarah's installation was one for me, and Dunkerley's leaving was a big one for me, only because of so many people that loved him during his 38 years here. Came back on that day, and I got to meet a lot of people whose names that I had only heard, through the years.
You were kind of the MC that day too, right?
I was sort of the MC that day and had a lot of fun with that.
I have a funny memory, and I think you probably heard the story about when we were processing. We used to sing, the choir used to sing up here, and we're processing down the aisle, and the next thing I know, my slips at my ankles. And I did this like quick move and kick it, and I told Nancy Byfield, here, take my slip. And she's like, okay, and I didn't miss a beat. I want you to know that.
One of my favorite memories of St. Peter's is that we met here. I was new to Chicago. I came in to the church, and people were very, very welcoming. So I decided to keep coming back, and then I think it was the next weekend, within a week or two, Eric was in church.
I decided to move down to Lakeview, so I was like, I should go to church. And the first Sunday I started walking up Broadway and saw this pretty girl, and I thought, oh, I hope she goes to church too. And then she did. And now we're married. It's like a movie that everybody goes to see but only gets 1 star.
That was probably the best moment that we ever had at St. Peter's. The service was incredible. We had a lot of friends here. The church was full. And the amount of people from this place that helped us and went through it with us, it was literally doing that event as a community. So many people said to us that they lived closer to here, they would come to church here. And sort of that aspect and the service part of it, which was the best thing, was so handled by this community that we really didn't have to do that much with it. The whole community of this parish came out and helped us do it and was done. And it was great to feel the spirit here, and to know that you're with that many friends and do it. Probably one of the best times of my life, and the things, if I look back over the years, will probably remember as one of my best moments in this parish.
I also became, for many years, a Sunday school teacher, primarily for the choir boys that would have a Sunday school class before they had to practice on Sunday morning. And I think some of the enjoyable experiences was in connection with that is we were able to organize a St. Peter's summer camping trip, and in getting to know some of the boys who were quite a variety. Some of the boys were sons of parishioners, but most were from what we might say mostly disadvantaged families. A couple of Sundays after Easter one year, and at that time Father Dunkley would usually make sure the Easter flowers were given out, and a number of the boys picked up Easter flowers to take home, and I used to drive some of them home after church. And they had, Bill Pollack had them sing for Easter a cantata. I can't remember if it was Schubert or somebody else, but anyway, it was in Latin. And so I happened to have a convertible then, so I'd taken them here with these 4 or 5 boys sitting in the car with these pots of Easters, singing in Latin the cantata that they had learned at the church. I always thought that was kind of amusing.
When we first started at St. Peter's, as I said, it was kind of the hub of our social life. And we participated in a group that met once a month at various members' homes. The group was called Forum, and we met for a house mass. Going to different people's houses for this time of not only of worship, but of social activity, just being with different parishioners, and we were multi-generational. It was not just young people, not just old people, it was a good mixture. And being with them on a different level and worshiping with them on a different level is one of my most favorite memories.
One of the things that I remember the most is the boys and I were members here, Larry did not come. And we were here for a pancake supper up in the gym. There must have been 70 of us up there because we had a Hispanic congregation here at the time. And the kids and I were running around talking to everybody. And we got home and Larry very ruefully said, "You didn't stay with your family." And I said, "We stayed with our liturgical family." And the next week, he's in church. 2 weeks later, he's an acolyte. He got involved in the fabric of the church, and it was all because of a bunch of pancakes. Anyway, this is my quilt that I made. Well, it's actually St. Peter's quilt. I made this in 2002 at everybody at the annual meeting. Signed squares. Some people were so worried about getting left out, like Don Getz. They signed 3 squares.
But as I made it, it's made of scraps, and I prayed for every single person as I did their square, and I tried to surround their squares with fabric that represented them.
Christmas is my favorite holiday, my favorite time of year. And the two times that we performed the Christmas oratorio by W.H. Auden for the time being as part of the Cultivators with Graham and Catherine Thompson sort of leading. I remember the first year Ned Russell's was still here and was able to be a part of it. And just that community that formed around, coming together, practicing this production, doing it for the church, and all the different personalities that came out during that. And of course it was Christmas time and Christmas themed, so that's probably my favorite memory.
For me, I think one of my favorite memories is the first agape supper that we ever had here. That time that we got to spend, that you get to spend in the guild room, that 30 minutes, that 45 minutes, I look forward to that all year long. That and Good Friday service. Good Friday for me is so meaningful. And that first Maundy Thursday, that first agape meal, that first Good Friday that we ever spent here was, it was so amazing. And that's a favorite memory of mine.
A little over a year ago, when I had some major surgery, I was in the hospital and opened my eyes, and there sat Reverend Sarah. And it was, shall I say, it was almost like a vision. It made me feel so good that she had remembered to come and visit me in the hospital. Just to see Reverend Sarah have the interest to be there and to represent the people of St. Peter's and to show me that they were thinking of me, it meant a great deal to me.
My brother died in January of 2009, and I can't believe I'm still tearing up about that, but I'm tearing up about how beautiful the church responded to me in that time of need. Just everybody gathered around, and particularly Sarah was just so pastoral in that. And we had a little service here in the chapel for him. Of course, nobody knew him, and he didn't have any other family. And the church was just really there for me in that. And I just truly appreciate that.
4 years ago, my dad got sick. He got a terminal illness. And I could only show up. I had to stay up there some weekends to take care of him. And when he passed, I called Nathaniel and I let him know, and I gave him the dates. It was going to be the following weekend. I think he died on a Friday morning. It was good. It was a week later after his death. And, and I just said, just put his name in the bulletin. Have the choir pray for me and my family. So we had the funeral and the reception afterwards. And right after the funeral, I didn't notice who was there and who wasn't. I was in another place. And suddenly I started seeing all these St. Peter's choir faces. So, they were like probably 8 people had driven up from the choir. And that, here I go. It's like Barbara Walters. Anyway, no. So it's a harsh. It's kind of a downer memory. But that was the moment I realized, this. It's not just about me coming and feeling good that I sing for the Lord every week. It's like these people do care, and for a small congregation, people really were there for me. Had I not had this place, and I was still like hopping from new, psychics and new age stuff, and I would have been alone. My friends could only give me so much. No matter what, no matter what happens here, it's like I have that memory to hold on to.
One way in which I've really been ministered to by the people of St. Peter's is in the Wednesday night quiet services. A lot of tough times in my life the Sunday services have seemed really big and overwhelming at most churches. And on Wednesday night here at St. Peter's, we have a meditative service, which is more sort of silent introspection, and I found it tough times in my life. It's a place where I can come and sit and sort of be in the presence of God and be in the presence of my fellow Christians and reflect inwardly.
I lost my mom a few years after we moved on the north side, and Father D, I remember calling him, and I was just totally crazy, out of control crying, and the next thing I know, he was at my door. When my friend Edie Morton, who you didn't know, not really, a lot of people here didn't know, and when she passed, the support that, this church gave me personally, but it would have meant so much to her, the service, and with Father D being here addressing her. That was another special moment also.
It boils down to gratitude. And that's why I brought the quilt, because this is my gratitude quilt that I made after I got back from France. And it's real easy to be grateful when something like France occurs in your life. But it's not always so easy to be grateful when things aren't going so well, when you're unemployed or when some bad things happen. This professor was talking about being with an indigenous tribe somewhere in Indonesia, and they're a primitive culture, but as they walked through a field of palm trees, one of the natives was thunking trees, saying, not for my grandson, but maybe for his grandson. And the whole concept of doing something that didn't benefit you really struck me.
My sponsor, when I was baptized and confirmed, kept working on me little by little. She said that, you really ought to consider pledging to the church. I said, I don't have enough money to do that. I can hardly survive as it is. She kept talking to me about it, and I reached a point where I thought I could maybe give it a try. But I had heard that if you give, you're supposed to give 10%. You're supposed to tithe. What I didn't realize is that you can build up to that. So I started doing it, and I have pledged ever since. And each year I have increased what I have given by a little bit. I'm not at 10% yet. Hopefully I will get there, but I give because I know the church uses it, and also it just makes me feel good to give something back to the church.
We had parents who could help us go to college, who could help us get settled and started on our feet in a new job. My parents have always said, we're always happy to share what we have with you. The only thing that we ask is that you pay it forward. But we don't have to wait until we have our own children who are out of college to pay it forward. But there are people around us who need that lift and a boost and just a chance to get on their feet. And I also feel like it's honoring my parents and their parents because they did that for each other. It's an important thing to me.
If one is going to be a member of something, a part of something, then it's very important to be a part of that something all the way. The church, of course, needs money to run, but it also needs people. It needs people participating. And if we have a time or if we have a talent in which we can give to the church, it's extremely important that we do that. And we give to St. Peter's, all of us, not just our weekly check.
Because the more I give, the more I get back. The better my life is. The years that I've been able to tithe have been the best financial years of my life. The time that I spend doing things for St. Peter's is the most satisfying time of my week. And the work I do, for instance, preparing for a homily,
I think I get more out of the homily than the people that listen to it. I learned much more by preparing it.
I think it means, acknowledging what you have and recognizing that what you have is a gift from God, and looking for ways to be generous with what you have.
The biggest thing to me about stewardship is leaving a place for the people who come behind you. We went through a period where we saw a generation here before us. 11 years that I've been here, it's sort of changed, and it's gone where one generation kind of handed the reins to the next generation. And what I think of stewardship is maintaining the place in that time and leaving a place for the people who are going to come behind us.
And do you have any sort of words of wisdom you'd like to impart to the world about Christianity, or about love, or about just about any wisdom you'd like to impart?
I feel that I have no wisdom at all.
I'll be real honest, I see the face of Jesus in my baristas at Starbucks. They are so kind and sweet to me, and I know they're paid to be that way, but you probably shouldn't put this in the video, but it's true. There are mornings where I'm like, oh, thank you.
Well, if we were just doing one of us, it would be easy just to focus in on your head. Or not.
Who is the most generous person you know, and how is that person generous?
Nathaniel thinks it's him. And in some ways, it is. He can be a tease. Sometimes he can be a little difficult.
Who is the most generous person, or who are some of the most generous people you know, and why?
Well, Nancy would think it was her, but she's wrong. Is it gorgeous?
That does look... You have such nice posture, and it's quite nice.
This wasn't here the whole time for service, was it?
No.
Oh, okay. Are you recording? Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh. Round two.
Well, I'm not here being interviewed. I guess I'll just meet you down there, but you're going to have to take your car down there.
Okay. Can you use any of that?
Oh, definitely. We can use a ton of that.
Terrific. I've been dreading this, actually.
Really? Why?
At first, it seemed like a good idea, and then I looked at the questions, and I said, I don't know, I can't say that. What inspires you? Nothing, really. And so I do comedy. I wanted to do a comedy routine.
You could have.
Well, take two.
Take two. I mean, hell, people would probably love that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe another time.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
My excuse from the stand.
You're excused.
Subject to recall.
Yes, subject to recall, I guess.